No, Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff...
Diddy really screwed up, and I'm not referring to his criminal trial, which has him sitting in prison right now. But it has to do with something that happened right before he got arrested. If you've seen the Netflix documentary about Diddy, Diddy The Reckoning, which 50 Cent produced, there's some footage there that had never been seen before. This is a photographer that Diddy hired to follow him around and document his life. That footage ended up going to 50 Cent.
And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know, because it was too early back then. You know, Pac just had died.
So this one night, 50 called me up, and you know they got him on the phone. Man, he was just talking. We was talking about old time shit. You know, sit down with Black Hands, sit down with with Puff kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be.
When 50 Cent dropped his Netflix documentary Sean Combs, The Reckoning, most viewers expected a sharp spotlight on Diddy, his ascent, his grip on the industry, and the controversies that followed, but the narrative quickly drifted elsewhere. Online chatter pulled new names into the mix, with Snoop Dogg becoming the center of speculation fueled by silence, misread cues, and claims that spiraled far beyond the evidence. Commentaries stretched selective remarks from interviews, recycled old clips, and repackaged second-hand audio to construct theories that thrived more on momentum than on proof. As social media magnified every assumption, curiosity turned into confusion, and rumor began to masquerade as fact. Strip away the noise, however, and the picture looks far less explosive. What's driving the controversy is largely exaggeration, selective interpretation, and familiar narratives resurfacing without verification. In this video, we cut through the distortion, tracking how the claims began, clarifying what was actually said, outlining what the documentary covers and omits, examining public responses, and separating what's confirmed from what remains unsubstantiated as the story continues to develop.
From Suge Knight, it's from his podcast with Dave Mays, and he's speaking on, you know, Tupac and Snoop being cool, and how, you know, after Tupac got killed, Snoop started hanging out with Diddy. And, you know, he also speaks on how, you know, Snoop, he did the Steve Harvey show with Diddy after Tupac got killed. Check this out.
Okay. It's downloading right now.
Then you look at the scenario how everybody used Pac to make their stuff famous or make their project better. You got people who use their songs for Pac and tell them how much they love Pac, but they do songs for Puffy. You got Steve Harvey, a whole bit that, you know, this motherfucker telling, well, Pac going to everybody else. He brings Snoop and Puffy on there and say, these the dudes who's running this in the East Coast, West Coast.
What's up, Snoop? What's up, huh? Hey, whoa. Wait a minute, fellas here. Hold on. You know, I know all about this East Coast, West Coast rivalry thing here, but we in Chicago now. This rivalry stuff, we gotta stop it, man. We stop that, we stop a lot of this violence.
Yo, Steve, check this, man. All that East Coast, West Coast stuff is a bunch of media hype. It's been my dog from day one, you know what I'm saying? It's all good between me and him. That's my people.
Real, that's what we came in for. We came in and light it up and ride it up. We never used to have.
Now, Pac, if you love Pac so much, how you with the motherfucker that everybody say got something to do with the first get down that happened to Pac in New York, then the second one.
What you think about Suge comments? And I never asked you this before, but did you have an issue with Snoop hanging out with Diddy after Tupac got killed?
I always felt that was wrong. I'm gonna just keep it real. I'm talking about from that, like now, okay, you know what I mean? I'm 46, Snoop probably early 50s. If he figured out now, he might go by the opinion like, okay, Puffy had nothing to do with Pac. You know, we grown now. If he want to be his friend, no problem. But back then, that was just awkward. You know what I mean? And the reason why it was awkward to me that I never even like it because you knew how Pac felt about this individual. You know what I mean? Even if you don't agree with him, you probably could have said, you know what, I probably ain't gonna come out, publicly with this because until things clear up, so I really know I could be certain that, they didn't have nothing to do with Pac. But it's like, it was no, okay, it is what it is. So that I never really respected that back then.
So you had an issue with it. You didn't like it.
Never really liked it. It just was a strange look because you was Pac boy. You know what I mean? Puffy, it's clear they had some issues with Pac. And Pac died and all of a sudden you chilling with Puffy. Back then it just, okay, now you can say what you want. You go all grandfathers, I guess. You know what I mean? That's different now. But back then I think it was weird, it was tasteless. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like you really had that much love for Pac. You could have just, you know what I mean? Unless he pressured them or like questioned Puffy, like, yo, what's up with this? What's up with that? Then you could say.
Despite his name never appearing in court filings, indictments, or any federal case connected to Diddy's conviction, Snoop Dogg was abruptly pulled into online narratives built on speculation rather than evidence. That shift stemmed largely from his long-standing visibility in hip-hop, a scene where overlapping careers naturally placed him in proximity to many influential figures during a turbulent era. After the documentary's release, interviews from Gene Deal, speaking broadly about discomfort among unnamed individuals and material left on the cutting room floor, were quickly magnified beyond their actual meaning. From there, rumor-driven platforms pushed claims that footage and names were deliberately withheld to avoid wider consequences, turning implication into assumption. Given Snoop's prominence and deep industry ties, he became a convenient target, with old clips, recycled interviews, and unverified stories repackaged as supposed proof. In that echo chamber, silence was framed as guilt and association as involvement, even though a closer look reveals no substantiated allegation, only the reality that he operated in the same industry, at the same time, as others now facing scrutiny.
Like I believe somebody mentioned that they seen a video with me and the dude Prodigy or one of the dudes from My Deep, as if I was with. They don't know the backdrop of that. I went to his hotel room ready to fight. Like, bro, I'll fight everybody in that room one-on-one. Even if I lose, it doesn't matter. The Outlaws was with me. My homie Tiny, the Mexican homie, was with me. I didn't go there and say, let me get in a video with these guys. I went there knocking on their door, doom, doom, doom. Tell them dudes to come out. What's up with y'all? What's up with y'all and Pac? You got a problem with Pac? Because we could just fight like man to man, face to face, and then shake hands. That was my approach with them. But when they told me they didn't have no problem, I don't mind being with you. You know what I mean? I don't mind shaking your hand because they told me they had love for Pac. So that's different. You know what I mean? If he come out and say, well, I already, I questioned Puffy about it. I believe that he didn't, he loved Pac. That's my opinion. I can move the way I want to move. So when people try to, I noticed somebody, I think on your page do that. Well, Napoleon was in the video with Mobb Deep. They don't know how I got in that video with Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? I pulled up on him but I'm the type of person, I've never been a bully type of person. You know what I mean? If I talk to a person like a man and they tell me face to face, look, I got love for Pac, I'm comfortable to know if I can look in their eyes and if I believe what they said, I have the right to say, okay, no problem. I believe you. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know because it was too early back then. Pac just had died. You know what I mean? Like he had the right to say, the reason why I'm rolling with Puffy, I questioned him about my homie. He gave me this answer. So then he did what he had to do. But it just, you know what I mean? I never really agree with that, to be honest. The same way I couldn't be on the stage with him. When they wanted to do that tribute, I just couldn't do it. Like I really felt in my heart, like, man.
This is where the danger truly sets in. When proximity is treated as proof, suspicion overtakes evidence, and the story drifts away from reality. In these moments, the most confident voices are often the least grounded. Sean Combs, The Reckoning was never framed as a sweeping takedown of the entire music industry. It was a focused examination of one individual. The film tracks Diddy's rise through Bad Boy Records, the power networks that surrounded him, and the systems that allowed harmful behavior to persist, grounding its narrative in victim accounts and the documented legal path that resulted in a 50-month sentence. What the documentary deliberately avoids is casting blame beyond what can be proven. It does not accuse unrelated figures, nor does it suggest criminal involvement where no evidence exists. At no point is Snoop Dogg identified as having engaged in wrongdoing, and claims that material was withheld to protect him remain unproven speculation. Curtis Jackson has repeatedly made it clear that the project relied only on information that could be verified and legally supported, reinforcing that the film's purpose was accountability, not rumor-driven expansion.
He was doing a documentary thinking he was going to come out triumphant.
Yeah, I didn't know that's how this started, is he started filming himself and getting this footage because he thought he was going to beat everything. Okay,
Diddy
that makes sense. Okay.
Has a relationship
with Netflix. I knew that.
With
Ted Sarandis. I saw that. Yes. Okay.
And he's filming it there. But of course, when you get, obviously it wasn't a clean sweep on the prosecutor's side, but you're still going to prison.
Yeah.
He basically kind of scraps it. It's not also Netflix is saying, because they commissioned it, right? Netflix is saying, all right, cool, just turn over what you got, and what we'll do, we'll make it what it is, because we're just following reality. Diddy's like, well, hold on now. If I lost the case, I'm down to still do it with you, but I got to be able to control it. Now, Diddy was probably going to kind of shape this doc to make it look like, hey, this was malicious prosecution. They kind of went really hard at me. Mm-hmm. I'm not a perfect guy, but I am a good guy.
Yeah.
And Diddy was like, I need to be able to craft it. And Netflix was like, no, you're not. And he's like,
well, my question is, did he sign the footage over to Netflix so they own it? Mm-mm. Like, how were they able to do this without his?
No, but he didn't pay for it. So essentially, they're calling it a payment error.
Ooh.
So essentially, the deal falls apart, or he's like, yeah, we're not going to do this.
So awkward.
And the people who did the work that have all this footage, they're like, so wait, you told us to film because this is going to be on Netflix. Now you're saying Netflix doesn't exist and we're not getting paid because Diddy was going to pay with Netflix money. And Netflix realized this and they went to the filmers and said, hey.
If anything, the film showed uncommon restraint in a media environment fueled by shock and speculation. It avoided naming anyone unless their involvement was supported by records or credible testimony that could withstand serious scrutiny, which is exactly why claims of hidden footage have never been proven. No authenticated clips have emerged, no court filings mention Snoop Dogg, and no authorities have identified him as part of any inquiry. In fact, Snoop publicly supported 50 Cent after the documentary's release, openly aligning himself with Curtis Jackson and showing no sign of tension or concern. That public stance directly undermines the idea that he feared undisclosed revelations, as open endorsement rarely aligns with secrecy, avoidance, or an attempt to stay out of view.
This through the prism of a modern-day rhetorical genius. A modern-day rhetorical genius. We're talking about the one, the great, the 50 Cent. All right. This guy's skill at rhetoric is absolutely next level. And this totally ties in with, how he famously is a big fan of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now, rhetoric with a capital R, I can just give you the definition of that. That's basically public speech, particularly public speech that is to persuade. Any persuasive public speech is rhetoric, right? Now, we kind of break that down into two subcategories of rhetoric with a lowercase r and dialectic. Rhetoric is essentially everything else, and really what moves the needle with like 97% of people and 100% of groups, okay, is in fact rhetoric with the lowercase r. So again, stuff like this, 50 Cent is an absolute master of. Basically, he dropped this doc, this 50, this Sean Puffy Combs doc, and it's just kind of set the internet on fire. It's beating out Stranger Things. Like, it's a wild ride to watch, right? And one of the things that he does is he breaks down Diddy's character on Diddy's own.
One of the most repeated claims traces back to remarks made by Courtney Burgess, who asserted that he held flash drives allegedly connected to Kim Porter and suggested they contained sensitive information about well-known figures. Online commentary quickly ran ahead of the facts, inserting names, including Snoop Dogg, while ignoring essential context. Kim Porter's children have publicly rejected the authenticity of any materials attributed to her, and no authority has verified the contents of those drives. From a legal standpoint, unconfirmed material carries no evidentiary weight. To date, no authenticated documents, recordings, or credible proof linking Snoop Dogg to wrongdoing have surfaced. Instead, speculation intensified as vague suggestions hardened into assumptions, allowing misinformation to spread unchecked. Rumors morphed into headlines, and headlines slowly solidified into accepted narratives despite the absence of proof. Possessing unverified material does not establish a crime, as legal standards demand authentication, credibility, and corroboration, requirements often ignored in online discourse. Consequently, claims that Snoop Dogg is facing pressure collapse under scrutiny. As of December 2025, there is no indication he has been questioned, investigated, or connected to any legal action.
Because he wanted them to, both Suge and Pac.
In the car?
They only Pac, and they don't Suge. So allegedly, they got paid $500,000. The $500,000 was paid to the guy on the right, all the way to the right. You see the guy on the right, Corey? He's the one allegedly that got the $500,000, and that money never went to Keefe or anybody else. The guy on the left is the one that stole the chain, the chain, which was a Death Row Records chain. That's a way of saying I got your rapper's chain, because if you were one of the guys, Death Row. So long story short, this whole thing is a recording that he said this. So what does Diddy do? Rob, can you pull up this song? It's a song called Black Rob, featuring Mark Curry and Mario Winans. If you can just type in lyrics, okay? So he gets $1 million. Can you go to the lyrics? And Diddy's in the lyrics when he gets started. Go a little bit lower. Can you type in the word in there, Rob? Nice guy. Type Control F, nice guy. Okay, right there. Look at it. It's 1999. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Been nice too long. I'm just going to start making y'all disappear. Man, first I'm going to take your records off the radio. Then I'm going to erase your social security number. Take your birth certificate out flies. I'm going to do your whole effing family. Ain't nothing but mercy. And then, by the way, in the lyrics, he says, I'll drop $1 million on your head to erase you. Can you type in, I'll drop $1 million, just put Control F. Just go to Google and type this out. I'll drop $1 million on your head. I'll drop $1 million on your head, and just put Diddy next to it. Right there. See, it says Black Rob. What song came up?
Phrase.
I'll drop $1 million on your head. Erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he did to get rid of Tupac.
Suge Knight has repeatedly leveled accusations against Snoop Dogg over the years, framing them around claims of betrayal, responsibility, and alleged involvement in events tied to the death of Tupac Shakur, especially during moments when the industry is under renewed scrutiny. These statements, however, are not new disclosures but recycled allegations that have circulated for decades without proof. Most have been delivered from prison in high-profile interviews designed to provoke attention through controversy rather than evidence. Snoop Dogg has consistently rejected these claims, characterizing them as baseless accusations rooted in long-standing rivalry and personal grievance. Most importantly, despite numerous investigations into Tupac Shakur's death spanning multiple decades, law enforcement has never charged Snoop Dogg nor identified him as a suspect, underscoring the absence of any verified link between him and the crime.
For being out there and allowing Misa to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family, he vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never f***ing with her again, and I ain't never f***ing with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues
about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing the Hoboken hustle, trying to fool a brother. But had he killed my man or something like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, Suge made Puff feel like I'm gonna get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason, he was mad at Puff. And Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge, it was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast to dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It was no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I gotta get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now, they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out this between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on behind that.
Well, what you mean?
Online narratives often mistake repetition for validation, where constant exposure makes unproven claims feel credible even though they were never substantiated. That psychological effect is powerful, and many creators rely on it while critical context quietly disappears. The breakdown between Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg happened decades ago, rooted in well-documented business disputes, personal conflicts, and highly public feuds. That history alone is reason for caution, not blind acceptance, when accusations from that era resurface. Recycling those claims today doesn't strengthen their credibility. It only increases the volume of the noise, allowing old grievances to masquerade as fresh revelations without adding a single new fact.
So, I don't know where you get all the extras from when they had a conversation at the hospital and all that. That's absolutely not true. Say less, if you know what I mean. But instead of just saying less, since I've been in here, Snoop and other people been having people trying to bail the guy out, Keefy D, because he talking too much. Raising them trying to do stuff for Puffy because they say he talking too much. They even had somebody talk to me and say, hey, you can help him get free. I said, look, I don't have nothing to do with none of that, and I'm not leaving prison to go to Nobody County Jail. To the point they were saying, well, you can't leave and sacrifice a little bit in the county jail to stop that black man from getting life? Hell no. I ain't wishing bad on him at all, because I don't want to see nobody go to prison. And like I told you last time, as I find out more details about certain things, I probably would go to the Vegas County Jail if me and Keefy deep with Sellies. We have a good conversation after I give him, six upside his head, another 6 in his body, and another 2. But yeah, that's different. It didn't happen with Snoop didn't go to the hospital.
Online narratives frequently blur the line between repetition and proof, allowing constant exposure to make unverified claims feel legitimate despite never being supported by facts. That psychological effect is strong, and many content creators exploit it while essential context is quietly pushed aside. Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg's relationship fractured decades ago amid well-documented business disputes, personal clashes, and public feuds, a history that demands skepticism rather than blind acceptance. Accusations rooted in that era should be examined carefully, not treated as automatic truth. Repeating those same claims today doesn't strengthen their credibility. It only magnifies the noise and keeps speculation alive without adding a single verified detail.
Just got out the gym, doing my workout boxing. Sure, you right. History would repeat itself. Cause nigga, you wasn't the only nigga in the room, nigga. You wasn't by yourself. It was other people in the room too. I'm not gonna say no names cause like you said, we don't talk. So why you on here talking? Let that go, man. And as far as Snoop and Corrupt write my album, you ask them niggas that. Them niggas ain't wrote my album. Corrupt helped me with Do You See? Snoop helped me with This DJ. Other than that, everything else I wrote. So that's where you wrong at again. And as far as the tough guy, do you recall when we was at the World Club and then said Death Row and NWA? Who fired on that? Me. When you was at the Comedy Store, fighting that little buff ass at the Comedy Store, who saved your motherfucking ass? Me and C-Style. So what have I done to you? For you to launch out at me? Look, don't get mad at me, man. I ain't never done nothing to you. I wasn't signed to you. So
the real difference between Snoop Dogg and Diddy right now isn't fame or influence. It's evidence. Diddy's conviction followed years of investigations, sworn testimony, and documented legal findings, while Snoop Dogg's name entered the conversation through proximity and speculation alone. As of December 2025, there are no federal charges, no indictments, and no active cases involving Snoop Dogg, and that distinction matters. In a moment when powerful figures are being held to account, the absence of law enforcement action isn't protection, it reflects a lack of proof. The industry may be under intense scrutiny, but not everyone caught in the aftermath is guilty, and blurring rumor with reality doesn't reveal truth, it erodes it, especially when accountability truly matters. What we're seeing is a familiar pattern where uncertainty hardens into accusation, old conflicts are recycled as supposed evidence, and speculation fuels anxiety. Strip away the dramatic headlines and reaction clips, and the reality is straightforward. No verified footage, no charges, no vanishing act. This isn't a story about panic. It's about how quickly narratives form when a powerful figure falls and how easily those nearby become suspects by association. As developments continue, the real question isn't who the internet targets next, but whether facts will be allowed to outweigh rumors. Will truth lead, or will assumptions keep deciding guilt before evidence ever does? Share your thoughts below, subscribe for updates, and stay informed and grounded.